Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm your host, Winnie.
And I'm Matt.
And today we are continuing Knowing Your Emotions Part 2, which brings me to talk about how we deal with emotions. And today I want to talk about maybe anger. Like, is there a way you kind of deal with anger?
I usually just do some exercise.
Oh, okay.
If I'm very angry about something, I find like going for a run or playing a sport can help me to get rid of that anger and feel just relaxed after.
Okay, so for you, it's very physical. You kind of just get that energy out. For me, it's kind of mental. So what I do is I just write an angry letter, and I sometimes mark it like dear so-and-so who made me really angry, and I just write it, and then I kind of just ball it up and throw it into the trash. But it does help.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that being a useful way to deal with anger is to write down, why you're angry at the person and like what you would want them to know.
Right.
But then just maybe by the time you're finished writing this, you realize that it's not actually that important and you're not really that angry anymore.
Right, because like I said, I address it to that person as if I'm talking to that person. But like you also said, you're also kind of writing out what is hurting you or making you angry, and then you kind of read it back and you're like, okay, maybe I'm overreacting. And then you don't ruin your relationship with that person if it really is something little. It could just be in the moment. It all piles up and you kind of just, like you said, if you run or exercise, you're letting it go that way. And in this way, you write it out, it kind of channels that energy somewhere else. But today we are continuing with our article, and it is the last part, and hopefully you guys will learn something new.
Being in touch with your emotions is no joke. It's the first step toward good emotional health. When you sense a strong emotion, name it. It will calm you down.
Hello everyone, today we are looking at part 2 of our article, Knowing Your Emotions. So last time we got into why emotions are so important. Everyone feels them, and it's very important for you to also know them.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we're feeling an emotion, like feeling embarrassed, and you might feel hurt and angry, and for many people, they'll just push that aside, just ignore it, and not pay attention to their own emotions. But really, everyone needs to know what they're feeling so that they can properly deal with it. And even though at the time you might not even realize what you're feeling, when you look back later, you can decide, I was feeling hurt at that time, and maybe you can do something about it.
Right. It's all about educating yourself. Okay, so let's get started. Being in touch with your emotions is no joke. And of course, when we say to be in touch with something, you're talking about, you're unafraid to deal with your feelings. You're regularly checking in with your feelings and emotions. So you're very clear on where you are and how you're feeling that day or that hour even. So you kind of ask yourself like, okay, how am I feeling right now? Okay, that just happened. I'm feeling really nervous. And that way you kind of are in a better position to deal with whatever you're feeling with, the more you know how you're feeling.
That's right. And, being in touch with your emotions is no joke, as they said. So when we say something is no joke, it means it's something you shouldn't joke about or shouldn't laugh about. And what that really means is that it's something that is serious. It's a serious matter. So you might say that, being late for school every day is no joke because it's going to hurt your school. It's a serious thing, and you shouldn't just make jokes about it, even though someone might initially think that's kind of funny.
Right.
It's no joke because it can become quite serious.
Which I think in this case is kind of the same thing with being in touch with your feelings. You think at first, I'll just, it's fine. I'm feeling a little bit sad. I'll deal with it later. Or I'll distract myself and deal with those emotions later. But like you said about being late to school, yeah, it's fine 1 or 2 times, but eventually you're going to get in trouble with the principal. And in this this case, with your emotions, it might really make you feel even worse than if you were to just deal with it in the first place.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的文法重点。In touch with 觉察了解，直译的意思是与什么连结，引申指发掘自己内心不易觉察的特质。我们来看看这个例句。Leo wants to stay in touch with his feelings. Leo 想要保持对自己情感的觉察。下一个文法 no joke 严肃重要之事。Joke 在这里指的是无关紧要、微不足道的事物。我们来看看这个例句。Taking care of a baby is no joke. 照顾婴儿可不是闹着玩的。接着我们回到课文当中。
It's the first step toward good emotional health. So that's being in touch with your emotions is the first step to, having good emotional health.
Right. If you don't know how you're feeling, then you really can't fix the problem if you don't even know what the problem is. And we have this word toward, which is a preposition, and it basically means in the direction of. And in this case, we're talking about having good emotional health, and that's hopefully a steady incline. So we're hoping to improve that and having a good relationship with our own emotions. So this first step will help us go towards a improving incline.
And it's toward emotional health. So emotional is an adjective meaning relating to emotions. And emotions are feelings like happiness, sadness, or anger. So you might think of these emotions as the things that make you who you are because they're how you express how you feel. So when we're talking about emotional health, we mean the health of your feelings. So whether you're dealing with your feelings in a good way or how you're expressing them when interacting with other people.
Right. We have our physical health, which means, if you're coughing or sneezing, obviously, then you have to go see the doctor. But with your emotional health, it's actually not so clear. Sometimes you think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Or in some cases, you don't know that you need help. So in order to have a really good relationship with your own emotional health, you have to do the steps to make sure you know what you're feeling. So continuing on, when you sense a strong emotion, name it. It will calm you down. So like in the previous part, we learned about naming our emotions. And it really is a helpful tool for you to realize, okay, right now what I'm feeling is this. That way I can maybe even Google it and say, okay, what are some tips that, will help me deal with this emotion? Because it's a lot easier to solve a problem when you know what the problem is. But if you can't even name it, then that's kind of the first step to solving that problem. And we have this verb, which means to sense, and it means to feel in an internal way. And it may not be obvious, but you can definitely tell. So instead of knowing something like, okay, I know there's a giraffe over there, you can see it and you can maybe smell it. But when you sense something, you might not even see that thing. You can feel it kind of in your bones. And it's also, when we're talking about emotions, it's very important to know what you're sensing because that's kind of the only way we can, like for example, if you're feeling sad, you can see tears sometimes, but sometimes when you're sad, you don't cry, but you have to be able to sense it.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 toward 介系词，致力于以达成。Jane is working toward her goal of becoming a doctor. Jane 在致力达成成为医生的目标。Emotional 形容词情感的。Daniel wrote an emotional letter to his friend. Daniel 写了一封充满情感的信给朋友。Sense 动词，感觉到，意识到。Henry sensed that something was wrong.Henry 感觉到有些不对劲。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, well, we've learned a lot about dealing with our emotions and how you can, get in touch with them and you need to sense them yourself in order to start to deal with them. But we're going to learn a couple more things you can do when you're dealing with emotions when we come back after this break.
Then, do something to help you move on. When you're unhappy, go for a walk or run instead of complaining. When you're down, watch something funny. Last, put your emotions into words. You can write them in a diary. You can also share them with people you trust. The more you know your emotions, the stronger and happier you'll be.
Welcome back from the break. Before the break, we learned about the importance of naming our emotions because, again, if you don't really know what the problem is, it's a lot harder to find the solution. So if you're feeling some type of emotion and you really want to fix it, the first step that you can do is really just saying, hey, I'm feeling this, and this is how I can do more research on how to deal with it.
All right, so let's get back to this article. Then do something to help you move on. When you're unhappy, go for a walk or run instead of complaining.
Oh.
When you're down, watch something funny.
That's a good tip.
All right, so we have the word unhappy, and unhappy just means not happy.
Right.
So it could mean sad, it could mean, just bored, it could mean angry, just any emotion that you're not feeling happy. So this word is an adjective and it has un, as the prefix, and this prefix simply means not. And you can put this, or you can see this before many verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So you could be like to undo something, or you could be unwell, or you could find that something is unbelievable.
Ooh. And then we also have the word to complain, our verb, and it basically means when you are vocal about something that you don't like. So for example, you could say, I'm at the restaurant and I'm gonna complain to the waiter that there's a hair in my food, a piece of hair. So when you complain about something, you're really letting a lot of people know, or maybe the situation that you are dealing with, you're really saying, I am upset about this, I do not like this, and you're really kind of saying what's in your head out loud. So continuing on, last, put your emotions into words. You can write them in a diary. You can also share them with people you trust. And I think for this part, I think it's kind of like the way I write my angry letters. It's instead of keeping it inside, you're kind of letting it out. So just like Matt, will run a lap or two or play some football to kind of deal with whatever's going inside, it's important to let them out because eventually if you just keep bottling it up, maybe something even worse would happen. So you could take out a diary, write a letter, or if you trust someone, you can tell them what you're feeling.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 unhappy 形容词不开心的 Mary felt unhappy when she lost her phone. Mary 弄丢手机后感到不开心 complain 动词抱怨 Sarah often complains about the weather. Sarah 经常抱怨天气文法的部分刚刚提到了 put something into words把某情感或想法化为文字言语 Word 是可数名词，意思是文字话语，在这里惯用复数。我们来看看这个例句 It was hard for Ben to put his feelings into words. Ben 很难把自己的感受化为言语。接着我们回到课文当中
All right, continuing on, the more you know your emotions, the stronger and happier you'll be.
I agree with that.
I agree, and I'll be stronger both emotionally and physically because when dealing with my emotions, I do exercise.
Right, because even when you're happy, you're exercising.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, when you guys are in school and you're feeling a little bit stressed out, these tips will really help you deal with all of that you're feeling and also realizing that it's normal. It's completely normal going through emotions. In fact, that's what separates us from robots. We are definitely human, and it's a very human thing to go through all of these different emotions. So we did learn to remember to name those emotions that you're feeling. That way you can do some more research on how to deal with those emotions. And number two, don't bottle those feelings up. Don't let them, pile on and, you think, oh, I'll brush it aside because it's not that bad right now. And then number three, vocalizing it, writing it down, or even talking to someone about it.
Yeah, those are some great tips that you can use in your own life to try and be emotionally healthier.
Right. Okay. Well, we hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Being in touch with your emotions is no joke. It's the first step toward good emotional health. When you sense a strong emotion, name it. It will calm you down. Then, do something to help you move on. When you're unhappy, go for a walk or run instead of complaining. When you're down, watch something funny. Last, put your emotions into words. You can write them in a diary. You can also share them with people you trust. The more you know your emotions, the stronger and happier you'll be.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 ，toward 介系词，致力于，以达成 ；emotional 形容词，情感的 ；sense 动词，感觉到、意识到。Unhappy 形容词，不开心的 ；complain 动词，抱怨。接着我们来看文法的部分 ：in touch with 觉察、了解。Kim is trying to get in touch with her true self. Kim 正试着了解真实的自我。No joke 严肃、重要之事。Losing your job is no joke. 你失业是一件很严重的事。Put something into words. 把某情感或想法化为文字言语。It's hard to put my thoughts into words. 我难以用言语表达自己的想法。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
Hey, 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 it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki. And I'm Winnie. Today we're making origami trash bins. What is origami, you say? Well, it is the Japanese word for the art of paper folding.
It's very possible that you can find origami trash bins in a lot of Taiwanese households all over the world.
Right. Today we are going to teach you how to make them. Let's begin. Step one is to find a piece of scrap paper so that we can make our box. Step one is to fold your paper in half. And then step two is actually pretty easy. You fold it again. Okay. And now step three is to open it like a book. Take your finger and meet the corner on the inside. You'll actually see a line in the middle, so you know where to meet that paper flap. You'll know where to fold it down and smooth it over. Then you're going to take the flap and fold it to the side. And then now you're going to take your other side and use your finger to meet that point, meet that line, and then press down. Now you're going to open it back up, take one of the flaps, and fold it into the center. Then do it on this other side. Okay, and now you just flip it on over and do the same thing again. And now to give our disposable containers a little bit more structure, we're going to take our flaps and fold it inwards so that it can kind of be more straight and give it some more structure. And there you have it, your very own disposable container. Well, today we learned that you can give new purpose to something that you were probably going to throw away anyway. So as long as you have a scrap piece of paper that is in the shape of a rectangle, you can really make whatever you need.
And the best thing is, you can make it into all different sizes, like little ones or big ones like this.
Yeah. Anyway, remember to follow us on Instagram and send us a DM or an email if you have anything you want to say in English but you don't know how. Anything you want to say?
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
That's all for today. Kiwi later.